My neighbor kept letting his dog use my yard as a bathroom, so I returned every single gift to his doorstep. I moved into my first house in May. Small yard, quiet street, decent neighbors, or so I thought. My next-door neighbor, Todd, had a huge German Shepherd named Brutus. Beautiful dog, terrible owner. At first, I'd noticed the occasional dog poop in my yard. It happens, right? Dogs wander over property lines. But then it became a pattern. Every single morning, there'd be a fresh pile on my lawn, sometimes 2 or 3. I'd look out my window and see Todd standing on his porch while Brutus did his business in my yard. He'd just watch, then call the dog back. Never once crossed over to clean it up. After 2 weeks of this, I caught him outside one morning. "Hey, your dog keeps pooping in my yard. Could you maybe walk him somewhere else?" Todd barely looked up from his phone. Dogs go where they go. "Right, but you could clean it up after." He shrugged. "Not my property? Not my problem?" I stared at him. "You're seriously not going to clean up after your dog?" "Listen, I work 60 hours a week. I don't have time to follow my dog around with a plastic bag." He went back inside. I tried the polite approach first. Left a note on his door with a roll of poop bags attached. The next morning, 3 new piles appeared in my yard. The bag roll was in my mailbox. I called the non-emergency police line. They said it was a civil matter, and I should talk to him directly. I already had. I contacted our HOA. They said they'd send him a warning letter. 2 weeks later, Brutus was still using my lawn as his personal toilet. The HOA said there wasn't much else they could do without proof, so I started collecting evidence. And by evidence, I mean every single deposit Brutus left behind. I bought a large plastic storage bin and a cheap shovel. Every morning, I'd go out and carefully collect whatever Brutus had left. I'd date each bag and add it to the bin in my garage. After 3 weeks, I had quite a collection. One Saturday morning, I saw Todd loading his car for what looked like a weekend trip. Perfect timing. I waited until he drove away. Then I grabbed my bin, walked over to his front porch, and methodically arranged every single bag in a neat pile right in front of his door. 3 weeks worth of gifts, all returned to sender. I added a note. "Found these in my yard. Thought you might want them back." Then I went inside and waited. Todd came home Sunday evening. I heard his car pull up, then silence. Then, "What the hell?" He came pounding on my door 5 minutes later, red-faced and furious. "Did you put dog shit on my porch?" "I returned what your dog left in my yard. You said it wasn't your problem, so I figured you'd want it back on your property." "That's insane. You can't do that." "You're right. I probably shouldn't have let it pile up for 3 weeks, but you said you didn't have time to clean it up, so I did it for you." "I could call the cops." "Please do. I'll show them the photos I took every morning of Brutus in my yard, and the video of you watching him do it." Todd's face went from red to purple. He stormed off. The next morning, I watched from my window. Todd came out with Brutus on a leash and walked him down the street, away from my yard. He did the same thing the next day, and the day after that. A week later, I saw him actually picking up after Brutus in his own yard. We never spoke again. He'd ignore me when I waved, but Brutus never pooped in my yard again. Sometimes people need a reminder that what they throw away has a way of coming back to them.